as we talk about them, right, you'll see some themes go across all of these different products and some commonalities with them. And we try to bring these pillars into all the different products there, right? Engineered for reliability, the broad portfolio, which is going to be important in picking the right product to go into these different situations, and the multi-platform support, right? So whatever type of solution or type of system that is being used, we're able to integrate into it and help with the performance. Okay, so with that, we're going to move over to some of the hospitality trends, and I'll ask Ian to introduce some of them.
Yeah, and I think this is where part of the webinar we're waiting for, right?
Yeah.
We want to get into hospitality and just, with the pandemic that happened, we know customer preferences changed. I mean, me and you included, right?
Absolutely.
Everyone was a part of that. And so we're seeing now, obviously, as we're getting away from the pandemic, that those customer preferences and those values are still remaining very essential to the hospitality space, especially with QSR and different restaurant settings. Like we have here on the slide, we're talking about takeout and delivery food being considered essential. And again, curbside pickup and those different types of methods are becoming even more and more popular and more consistent, especially with the younger generations.
Yeah,
we're starting to see that gain a little bit more traction.
I think that's one of the interesting things as we talk about some of these trends or the preferences, the responses. A lot of them, it only accelerates as you go through the younger generations with it. But the other important aspect of this is there is a lot of investment going in to address these, right? To stay relevant, to bring in these different workflows and delivery methods with an increased IT budget, installing those. But where a majority of the spending here is coming, according to a lot of operators, is in expanding the capabilities of their existing systems, right? And this is actually a great trend for Epson here because we play in so many different areas and we're able to bring in the correct product to enhance that spot. But it's not just reactionary, right? This is really an opportunity not just to meet the requirements coming from a lot of the customers or the trends, but really to excel and set the restaurant apart, right? Majority of operators here, they're really looking at technology as a way to differentiate themselves and provide a competitive advantage.
I think that's exactly it. The scramble to, have your methods to have a drive-through, have the different curbside pickup, it's kind of over. Now we're establishing, okay, this is what we're going to do going forward and really investing in IT.
Yeah.
And so that brings us to, the fun part where we get to actually see some of these solutions. Now, I know we just talked about different methods and different types of orders, and we'll get into that, but we got to go back to the roots, right? The traditional order entry.
And that starts with, how do we get the order in? How do we receive it from the customers? How do we start that whole process so we can get the order right and get it delivered over to them? And it really does start with kind of the fundamental ways that this can happen, right? The dine-in customers, the drive-through, these kind of attended interactions where the customer is giving the order to an employee or an associate, really ones that are very familiar when we think about how we've gone to restaurants, whether quick service, limited service, or full service in the past. And these are still very important to handle well, right? We can't ignore the need to fully support the base while chasing some of the new trends or the different areas that are going in there. And this is really where a lot of Epson's most familiar products in this space excel. Right, so we're going to look at a couple of them here, and with the T887 being one of our flagship products in that terminal space, and also a newer product, the M52.
Right, so why don't you head over with Michael, and we'll take a look at those in a second. But again, just to reiterate and echo what David said with the reliability of that traditional receipt printer. So now we'll go over the demo, and over to you guys.
First, we're going to start with that attended demo that we just spoke about. So drive-throughs, someone at a counter. We really wanted to show you what that experience ultimately is. So first, we've got the T887, and traditionally this has been the workhorse that we've seen at a lot of hospitality locations throughout the world. Now, there's a lot of things that we'll be talking about here for a moment, and I'm going to be ordering my favorite beverage at our Cafe 75 in the Experience Lab here. I've got David here helping me out with our experience on the T887. So David, this is traditionally the setup that we've been showcasing to a lot of our partners and a lot of our customers on what a self-attended solution ultimately is.
Absolutely. And the T88 has been fantastically successful for us. We're actually approaching 5 million units sold since we introduced this line. And there are a few things that have been consistent that have driven the success. High performance, industry-leading speed on the T88-7, long warranties, engineered for reliability. This can stand up to high volume, demanding environments, and it just keeps printing. So when you're trying to build out a solution, you need it to just work. This is a great choice for that.
So let's go ahead. I want to order my favorite coffee here. Let's do a cappuccino.
Okay.
All right. Let's make a caramel.
Caramel.
All right.
How many pumps?
Let's do 4.
4 pumps.
4 pumps.
Right. And what type of milk did you want on there?
Let's do 2%.
2%?
Yep.
Okay, we can do that.
How about some whipped cream?
We can add some whipped cream for you.
And cinnamon?
Cinnamon, a wonderful finishing touch.
And let's make it extra medium.
Extra medium. How'd you know we have that size here?
Well, it's Cafe 75. I know everything here that's going on.
Okay. And Michael.
Yep. Perfect.
Great.
Oh, sweet. That was fast.
Absolutely. No waiting with the T88.
Ian,
What did you order?
oh, I figured, lunchtime's coming up, we get a pizza.
Okay.
So,
well, we do make
you know,
good pizza there, but
Using the kiosk.
surprised to see you there. But it worked out. We had the other options for it there. But now that we've looked at how we can get these orders in, let's
Right.
really kind of get to the bulk of what we're here to talk about in how we can use some of Epson's labeling products to really optimize how these orders now get through our restaurant, get back to the customer.
I know, because we talked about, we've got orders through the kiosk going through, we've got
Mhm.
orders through, the mobile application, and who knows who's in the drive-through.
Yeah.
It's all coming in one spot. So now what?
All those coming in, there's a couple things that we need to keep in mind as we're preparing these orders and getting them back out. And that is accuracy and efficiency, right? These are two ideas that really need to drive the investment in the system as it's integrated in there. You look at the drive-through, right? A lot of options there. The
Right.
number one reason that customers cite for coming back is the accuracy. So, right, we need to get the order right. It needs to be right every time as we go through there.
And
Right.
you just think too, that's the one thing that's awful. You ask for something and you don't get it.
Yeah.
And then from a employee, from the restaurant itself, from their perspective, with rising food costs and
Mhm.
labor shortages and labor costs,
Yep.
if you get an order wrong, now you have to repeat that. You just imagine it's eating away at your profits, and it's being, very difficult.
Yep. And as those margins are squeezed exactly with what you're
Mhm.
talking about with the food cost, with the labor shortage, right? We need to make sure that every aspect of getting the order prepared after it comes into our is dialed in,
Mhm.
running efficiently, getting things right, so that we can continue to deliver that experience for the customers.
Now, do we have a solution for that?
Of course we do. Epson's always got
That's
an
right.
answer for that. And we have really a list of solutions that we can put back into the kitchen. This is going to be one where it's really valuable to be able to see how they interact together. Right? We'll take a look at a kitchen display system. We have really a really well-known impact printer with the U220, but this is where we can start to integrate some of the labeling technology, come back into your space with the thermal
Yep.
labels and see how we can really elevate this, improve the performance, and start to take things really into a next level and optimizing for some of these new workflows and these new order entry systems rather than just supporting.
Yeah. And I think you're going to help Michael with these ones too.
I'll head on over.
So with that, we'll get into our demo. But something that David said that I really liked is just having that broad portfolio to help with a variety of different solutions. And we're going to see that now with this demo. So over to you guys.
So we just got done placing all of these orders from different locations. Front, imagine we had a drive-through, kiosk, line busing with the P22 that David did with me. So we've got orders coming from everywhere, including online now. And we've got some different solutions to manage that now. So traditionally we could use a thermal receipt printer to getting those kitchen chits to show up. We also have a partnered screen here with a bump solution, so I can easily see all of the orders that we just did, our coffees, our cappuccinos, and it looks like Ian placed an order for a pizza. Now, one option is utilizing this thermal receipt printing. We also have the ability of using something a little bit different. I've seen this printer before, David. I've seen it at restaurants. I've even seen it in movies. Tell us a little bit more about this guy.
Yeah, this is the U220 printer. This is an impact printer, and it's really become an industry standard, right? Really distinctive printing noise.
Yes, absolutely.
And one of the reasons this has been so successful in kitchens is the media doesn't activate with heat or moisture, right? So these prints, these orders, these kitchen chits are going to stand up to all the different environmental factors that you'll have in a kitchen. Now, there are ways that we can take these traditional ways of handling the orders and accelerate them and take them to the next level in terms of bumping up the speed with which we can prepare, and also the key accuracy, making sure we get it right.
So I get it from like the visual side with the Epson's KDS and being able to see it on this partner touchscreen here, and I can visually see all the orders and what's going on in my no tomatoes that's happening here. Now, if I wanted to move this without the screen, I can use the thermal, and I've seen people take what I was trying to do earlier, which is taking this and sliding this across the table, right? There's got to be a better way to make sure that my extra medium coffee is prepared correctly, right?
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and send your cappuccino through, and I'll show you how it works.
Perfect.
All right, so you can see here, we used a liner-free label to print all of your order information directly here. What's great about using these as an item label is whether it's the coffee, whether it's the sandwich, we can take that order, all the modifiers, and place it directly on the item as we prepare it, right? So if I ever need to reference what's in your cappuccino, the 2% milk, all those caramel pumps, the cinnamon to finish it off, and the extra medium cup, it's all right here, right? So it's easy to reference. I can make sure that I get this order right, and because all the information I need is right there, I'm able to prepare this very quickly. Right, so effective on beverages, effective on sandwiches, really every station in the kitchen can benefit from these.
So we're talking about speed, efficiency, and accuracy, and it looks like we have a ton of different options to customize the solution at someone's business. So it could potentially end up being with the Epson KDS solution, potentially with a thermal receipt printer, impact printer, and then of course the liner-free solutions that you just showcased with having the accurate information on the cup itself. So really great things to now build that order. We've showcased how to place the order, how to do it in the back kitchen from here, but there's a few more things that we can do to make that customer's experience a little bit nicer as that finishing touch. So let's talk about that next.
What'd you think of that?
That's great. You know, the ability to have all the information you need to get the item right, move along with it as you go through, is a really valuable aspect of it.
And the one thing there is accuracy, accuracy, accuracy. Right? It's what we just talked about in previous slides. Everything's going back to, is the order right? And yes, I could write something down, but with multiple orders like that, there's no way to do it.
It's interesting here that you said the order is right, because really we've looked at an item label.
That's true, even getting more granular.
And it's not just enough to get an item right. And really, the most common errors when we're going through drive-thrus with the orders are with some of those other items that are a part of that, whether it's the beverage, whether it's another special request that's going through, right? More common actually to get some of those items incorrect rather than the main item itself, but just as detrimental to the customer experience, right? So we've got to have some ways to deal with that as well.
Yeah, and I think we saw it a little bit with the L100 there, and as we get into this next slide here, with the thermal order labels and those item labels, like you saw with the cappuccino, and we know 4 pumps of this, powdered sugar here, whipped cream, whatever it may be, we need to be able to track that.
Yeah, and Michael came back in. He wanted a sandwich as well, still part of the same order. And we talked about all the orders coming in. We're starting to talk about how we get it back out there. So just as many ways to deliver the order to the customers there are to receive the order. So being able to make sure every item in the order, the item is correct, they're all together, they're delivered the proper way in the proper packaging, all important areas we can help.
Yeah, and especially with something that I don't think we called out so much, but the linerless aspect of it, and not having extra waste there. There's no liner on the back of that label that comes out, it prints out, it's ready, stick it on.
No, it's a great point, right? You have the capabilities of the
Mhm.
media, the adhesive, the thermal labels in there, and it's printing in the same way that a receipt does, right? We're
That's
using
right.
the same languages here. It's easy to integrate with those systems, and it brings a lot of new capabilities to it.